do that like dramatic Van Halen style ending, you know, like they always like go all the way up to the top and then back, and it's awesome. So, you know, I gotta throw it in there every once in a while. Welcome to another lick of the day. I am Brett Papa, and today we got a couple of requests. First from, I think, it's Simon Howe, if I'm remembering this correctly. He wanted to know how to do some of those kind of first position kind of things like that, where you mix major and minor together. And then another person, Wizaxt, I believe is how you pronounce it, wanted to know about hybrid picking for speed. Now, hybrid picking for me has been just a godsend. So we're going to go over that as well. But I wanted to let you know, now I'm starting, and not everyone, but I've started to tab out or have the lick of the days tabbed out. So make sure you go to brettpapa.com, check to see if the lick of the day you want is tabbed out and is downloaded. And it's just, they're done amazing. I'm so stoked how they turned out. So check those out. Anyways, so the lick is done in A, and I love A for a number of reasons. First, right off this basic A chord, you can do so many different things, but you can pull off. Right? Sort of Crazy Train-ish. Yeah, lots of different songs do that, but you can mix it up. Right? And you can go to Crazy Country, right? You just mix Aussie and country, and you got Crazy Country. You can do that sort of thing. But another great spot, right, is when you, or another great technique is when you mix the major and minor together and you have that first position major. Right, we got all the, right, where you get that sort of southern rock, really melodic, happy sounding thing going on. But you also have that sort of ZZ top fifth position minor, which is this. Right, where you might get that. Right, and then you also have this midsection, which a lot of people don't use, right? You have this spot. Right? So when you start to look at it like, okay, so I have fifth position minor. Right, that gives me all those. But when I have first position major, then that gives me. Okay, so now all of a sudden I'm getting all these other notes I could be using. And a lot of those notes come right here when I combine position 5, this step and a half, with position 1 major. So suddenly I have a 3-note per string run. Now, when I go up to the A string, position 1 of major would be this. But since I have that position 5 in there too, I get that C, right? So that allows me to do licks like, okay? Now you can do tons of stuff. You can throw on chromatic licks where you just fill in the gaps. All sorts of stuff like that, but this part right here, I just start to do patterns, right? So I'll pull off. Right? So maybe I'll pull off. And then maybe on the next run, I'll. So maybe it's. That's just a simple pattern. I'm just pulling off. Right? So you go 5, 4, 2, and then stack. And then maybe the same thing on the next one. And then on this one, maybe I'll go this way, right? And so I'll hit 4 and 5, and then maybe 3 and 4, and then maybe I'll jump over a string. So, right? Now that can be sort of cumbersome to start skipping all those strings, especially if you're not a really fluent, really good picker, right? And it can get confusing. Like, am I going down and skipping over and doing an upstroke, or how do I get those picking movements going when I start skipping strings? Now, there's lots of great people who go over stuff like that. Paul Gilbert, when I was a kid, was like oh my gosh, how does he do that? And it is really, you know, Steve Morse, all these amazing guys, the John Petrucci guy from Dream Theater, they can do these really intricate, you know, alternate picked string skipping runs. Now, that's great, and that's something to aspire to, but they're almost superhuman in their ability. So, in comes the digits. Now, it's a super easy way to do a couple of things. You can work on your hammer-ons and pull-offs over here. But if you have to string skip, instead of trying to figure out, am I doing a downstroke, upstroke, and then what happens when I go back, you can just sneak in a finger. Now, I started with just my middle finger. And each time I would pick the lower string, and then I would pluck the higher string. Right? So on a run like that, I go up to the A, come back to the D, and I pluck it with my middle finger. Skip over to the G, and then do something like that, right? So that's a simple run you can do, just the pull-offs. You go 5, 4, 2, then go up to 5 on the lower string, and then pluck. Right? You can get it going really quick. Start getting that going. Now what happens is, logically, your one finger, you're like, okay, I'm getting this as quick as I can with one finger. Well, I got 3 more. Now, rarely ever will I use all 3 of my remaining fingers on my picking hand to do that kind of stuff. It works great if you're going to do like arpeggiated chords or something like that. You can see people like, you know, Daniel Donato, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Johnny Hyland, Brent Mason, Brad Paisley, all these just burning country cats. Guthrie Trapp is another just phenomenal plucker, right? You can check out all these techniques, but it's fairly advanced, right? And then you got Chet Atkins and all these guys that can do these really amazing melodies, right, with using all their digits. But if it's something you're just trying to incorporate and maybe spice up your rock stuff, then if you're going back to a string twice, say we're doing the same thing, right, where we're going down and maybe we're starting on the G and doing a lick like that where we're bouncing back and forth between the G and the D. Then maybe you start to use 1 and 2. Start maybe with your pinky or your ring finger, and then switch to the index or the other way. Whatever makes sense to you. But you want to start to get that kind of fluid, right? Especially those licks where I do when what I call stacking. That is a great place to start switching the fingers around. Right? I do that all the time. And honestly, I get so used to using one finger that, you know, I'll come back and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. I have another finger that I can just, you know, help jump around. When you're skipping over multiple strings, right? Maybe say you're going from G to D and then you go from D to be, right? And you think of your fingers and how your hand sits there. I mean, it's almost set up to do that. If you just rest your hand right on your bridge and put your pick right here, look, I mean, you're like D, G, B, right? Your fingers are just naturally right there. So if you're doing licks, right? It really helps to start doing that. Now it sneaks into all of my playing, like my pentatonic. Again, when I'm doing that stacking. Right? So it's just one of those techniques that takes a little bit of getting used to. Watch Jimmy Page. My buddy pointed that out to me. I'm like, Jimmy Page, hybrid picks, stuff like Black Dog, and a lot of the stuff where he starts burning. His technique, his solos are hard enough to just do, but it's really unorthodox playing, right? And so I was like, God, how does he do that? And my buddy's like, he hybrid picks a lot of his stuff. And I was like, really? So I went and watched Song Remains the Same, and sure enough, you see that with Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? Another perfect example is somebody does blistering fast, pentatonic runs that it's like, man, how does he pick that? Sneaks in the fingers all the time. Even really amazing guys. I got to do a lesson with Greg Howe a few times, and it was just like, I just paid to watch him play guitar. But even guys who are really good at, alternate picking, economy picking, all that kind of stuff, they sneak that kind of stuff into their playing all the time. Guthrie Govan, all these just ripping shredders. You'll see them use hybrid picking a lot too. So check that out. Mixing major and minor is a great way also to develop speed in pentatonic playing, because it gives you all sorts of 3-note per string runs like we were doing. Or just filling in the gaps, right? All that kind of stuff. And you just work on it. I mean, that's not like the most clean, amazing stuff I've ever done, but it's a constant work and progress. And then sooner or later, it's going to seep in. And when you're, on the fly and maybe everyone's adrenaline's up, and you're at a gig and you're like, man, I don't know if I can pick it that fast, right? Maybe they're doing, Crazy Trains at 130 and people are playing 150. That's what click tracks are for, by the way. But that's just a way that maybe now you can sneak in your fingers as a way to do speed, because maybe you just can't pick that fast. We can't all be Paul Gilbert, so maybe we can, use our digits. Give it a shot. Don't forget to check out brettpapa.com, where all the lick of the days are now. And there's also, remember, there's also tabs being done on some of them, not all of them. So check for those as well. You guys are amazing. Don't forget to subscribe. Let your friends know if you subscribe. Click the bell. That'll notify you when the videos come out. Over here, I'll put some other playlists. But again, share the videos far and wide. If you got some help from it, spread the word. That would be awesome. We'll catch you next time.